people want to see you in your work. And how do you express yourself? You express yourself when you have the comfort level of the tools to make art. And that took me 43 years to understand. Art is my second career, and I'm so happy that I had all those years as a teacher to explore the world and to see things with my own eyes, so that now when I want to express myself in my paintings, all that stuff comes through. And I think those are the important things to understand before we pick up the brush. I do like to go by the elements and principles of design, but then I like to break the rules. So when I paint, I like to start out and have a feeling for my subject matter. And the painting that I'm going to do for you today has a backstory. Mark and I used to do more of this than we do now. We would go Friday night after work to the movies. And those of you that know Chicago, Webster used to have the Tannery. How many people remember the Tannery in Chicago?
My father-in-law worked there.
Oh, then this painting's for you, girl. Well, we arrived late. The movie was going to start. We went through that parking garage, which I believe now is the Regal Theater. They changed the name. And so all the lower levels were filled, and we have to go to the upper deck. So we park at the upper deck, and this was years ago. I didn't even have an iPhone. I don't even know what kind of a phone, probably a flip phone. And I remember getting out of the car, and I'm a visual person, and I looked across the river at that tannery. And the looming dark structure of that tannery with the little lights coming here and there within the building and everything, it hit a chord within me. I didn't think too much about it, went and saw the movie, came back out, and of course we were one of the last ones to leave that upper deck parking. But you're saying, Ingrid, you're going to paint this? How many people would actually, okay, paint that? You could have the little lights coming through. But we have to get away from copy, and we have to go tap into here. All right, let me show you another picture. A little closer. And I loved all those little things going on in the windows, and I liked that taking a bite out of the sky shape, and I liked that steam coming up. So all these things were making mental notes in me. So then, because that was such a terrible photograph, I thought, well, I better do some research. So I went out during the day and I took some pictures, and of course, guess what? The tannery is gone. They tore it down. Of course, this was years ago. I think they built a shopping center there. But the reason I am showing you this is because my whole point is that this is a terrible photograph to copy. You have to rely on this. And this is what we need to do. Now, no marks in the paper. I don't draw on my paper. Contrary to Irving Shapiro at the American Academy of Art, he always did a wonderful drawing and pencil, and then he drew on his paper, and that never clicked with me. It never clicked with me because as a child, I was always reprimanded for coloring outside of the lines. And I felt that if I am drawing on my paper, that I have to paint within those lines. And it stifles my expression. It stifles my expression. So a lot of you think, well, Ingrid, how do you start? How do you begin a painting if you don't have any guidelines on the paper? And how do you know what to do? I'm not relying on my photograph, but here's what I do. All right. I make a little, and by the way, I'm going to put a plug in for Kilimanjaro sketchbooks. I love these. These are made, you can get these through Cheap Joe's. I like the binder. I like the fact that they have a paper in between the watercolor paper, and what I do is I do a sketch and I do a graph of my proportions of values. This is what I did here. And I interpreted that bad photograph into something that I'm going to be putting into paint for you. So all of this was done before I even start with the brush on the paper, because this is kind of up here now. I don't need the pencil marks on the paper because those stifle me. All right. Any questions to this point? Okay. Now, before I start, who's in charge here? How long do I go before we break?
About 30 minutes.
30 minutes, and I don't have a watch, so can somebody time me?
Sure.
Okay. All right, Fran, you're going to time me. All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm starting, and I want to create a mood in my painting. A mood. Creating a mood in my painting. My brushes are still wet from yesterday. So what I want to do is I want to wet the paper. This is going to be a night scene. And actually, that's taking way too long. All right. And of course, you have to know when your paper is wet by holding it up to the light and seeing where it's shiny and where it is not shiny. And one other thing before I started, there's a watermark in my paper. I picked a piece that had a watermark. And sometimes when you paint on paper, this is Arches, 140 pound. I'm not painting on Yupo. Those are on Yupo, which is what I love painting on. But I'm painting on paper. And if you have a watermark on your paper, put it down at the bottom. You know, I don't even cut it off. I think it's kind of neat to have a shape on that. So that doesn't bother me. And here is my wet paper. I'm ready to go. I don't use burnt sienna anymore. I like Daniel Smith Quin Burnt Orange. And it's more, for me, it's more transparent. It does wonders with Sodalite, Daniel Smith. Sodalite is granulating. I like what it does on paper. I'm adding a touch of yellow ochre. And what I'm doing here is I'm kind of coming and creating a feeling of warm behind this. I don't care where I'm going here. That's not important. Down here, we're going to add a little bit of cobalt teal, which is also a Daniel Smith. Cobalt teal, Ingrid. Okay. We're just going to put some of that in. And I'm going to echo some down here. You know, when you paint, this is what we were talking about. When you paint, you've got to find tools and you have to find ways that resonate with you. You can take 1,000,001 workshops and everybody's going to tell you something different. And here's what you do. You go to those workshops and you absorb and you squeeze out like a sponge. Big sponge, we learned. You squeeze out with the sponge the things that don't pertain to you. And you find your way. That's what you should do. We're all gathering information to make it work for us. We're all our own students of the game. All right. Oh, let's get another color in here. This is a Pyro Orange, Daniel Smith. I should be representative for Daniel Smith. I love their pigments. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm asking myself, okay, on top of all this is going to be my dark in the beginning. But right now, as I'm starting, I am connecting. I'm unifying the painting, connecting it all together. And I'm not worried about where things are going. That's why this would drive me crazy if I had lines. Oh gosh, it would not work for me. And this is a night sky. It's a night sky, but I don't want to make it black. As we learned in the workshop, everything that you do on your painting, every shape that you make, it is your obligation to the viewer to entertain the viewer. You don't put something really exciting in the middle and then forget this. Or you don't put something here and then forget all the edges and have the horse race around your shapes in the middle. Every shape on your painting, every shape, the negative shape and all the other shapes in your painting are important.
Ingrid, do you, on a at-home basis, use those little containers too that you're painting?
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll talk about this. Yeah, these are Masterson solvent cups. Masterson solvent cups, and Maxine Master. I'm not sure if I have that. Is it Masterson or Masterfield?
No, it's Masterson.
Master. Thank you. All right. They are wonderful little cups. And I saw a lot of you people put paint in those little trays. They dry out. Paint is expensive. Oh. So if you put a little, now you don't take the tube and put the whole tube on here. You put out fresh what you're going to be using for your painting. This snaps on. That keeps it pretty moist for quite a while. Now, if you're not going to be painting for months and months and months, pretty soon you pick this up and it will start rattling. You know what happens. But for those of you that are painting in your studio, I would say invest in these. I get them on Amazon, $10 to $12 for 10 in a pack. They're fabulous. You're not wasting paint. So I would highly recommend that for those of you that do not want to waste paint. All right. Now, Ingrid, stop talking and get going. How am I doing for time, Fran?
You're doing fine.
Okay.
24 minutes left.
Oh, I better get going. All right. Now, I use a lot in my painting, I use the force of gravity. Gravity is a wonderful tool that you can use in your painting that gives you wonderful feelings of mood, luminosity, and one of the quickest ways to kill a watercolor painting, and those of you that took my workshop, you know this answer, is I don't get there soon enough, so I'm going to go back and do another layer. And I'm going to do another layer. Oh my God, it dried 20% lighter. Oh, I forgot that. I have to do another layer. Every time you put a layer on your painting, it kills the painting. What did Irv Shapiro say? 2 times you get darks? Two times? Tony, 2 times you get dark, Irv Shapiro? You must have been sleeping during that time. All right. All right. I remember Irv Shapiro said that he gets his dark, I think, with 2 strokes. That's the max. I try to do it in 1 because I know my personality. And I don't want to futz, and I don't want to keep going over. I want to hit it and get it done the right way. So I'm thinking in my mind, okay, 1 time. Now, while this is kind of dry, it's shiny. Normally in my studio, I'm usually painting on Yupo, but normally in my studio, I will not dry it with a hairdryer. I'll go do something else. But we're in a demonstration, and what I want to do is make a very important mark on my paper, and I don't want it bleeding all over the place, and this is going to be a crow flying in the sky or something. What is that? What happened down there? I don't even know what that is. How do you know when your paper's dry?
Back of your head.
Back of your hand, yes. And you know what? The worst thing you can do is take your paper take your paper and go like this. You have grease in your fingertips, especially after you eat cheese or salami or something. So always use the back of your hand. It's got to be cool to the touch if it is still damp. If you want it dry, it's bone dry. It's warm. I'm kind of in between here, but you know what? We're moving. I got friends timing me, so I have to get going. All right, here is my favorite brush. Yes, it's not a Kolinsky. It is a boar bristle brush that I had at the American Academy of Art in Ted Smiskovich's oil painting class. This brush has seen better days. It was chewed by my dog when she was a puppy. The ferrule got loose. I used Gorilla Tape, but I love this brush. I don't like my Kolinskis very much. I don't need Kolinskis. So you have to, like I said, you have to find tools. And besides, I don't know if you've priced Kolinsky brushes lately. They're outrageous. But they're making a lot of wonderful synthetic brushes that act like it. And you know what? A brush is part of the tools in the toolbox, but it's not the most important thing that creates a painting. What creates the painting that's important is in here. And how do you get those shapes? How do you do those shapes? That's what's important. All right, back to the paste. Now, I didn't mention this, but I'll say it right now. When I paint, I like to get my lightest lights and my darkest darks in right in the beginning. Right in the beginning. And what does that do? That gives me the range, and then I go from here to here. I'm not suggesting that you do that. I just know that it works for me. If I don't do that, then I futz and another layer and another layer. But this is where I beat Shapiro. He said 2 times, I do it once. So I'm sure he's listening to me right now. Now that's pretty pasty. That's pretty pasty. That's pure paint out of the tube. What I do is I have my little spray bottle that if I have to moisten it a little bit, I just give it a little bit of water. But here we go. First mark. All right, you're saying, oh, Ingrid, that's a very, very dry stroke. Yes. But now I come with a wet brush. And I soften. I'm leaving some rough edges. And don't get me started on edges. I think edges should be one of the elements of design. I am an edge fanatic. I love edges. I love what edges do in a painting. They create mystery. And when you do everything hard lined, all right, you're going to have to use some other tools of design to make that work. But the power of edges, soft, broken, lost and found, and hard, make a painting yummy. Just yummy. Now, I started out, you probably said, okay, that background, but look at how that is kind of a glow in the sky. Now it's because it's next to dark, dark, dark. All right? And now sometimes we're going to do other things with the brush. I didn't go like this. I just did a plop. And let's just take a bite out of that shape while we're doing that. Another quick stroke. Those quick strokes are magic in your painting, and I guarantee you that tannery did not look like this, but this is my tannery. This is the tannery that I want you to see. And every time we paint the painting, we make it our own. We do our own thing. Now we're coming down here. We're having a couple little areas, incidences in our shape. Shapes, very important. Some rough edges, some hard edges, some soft edges, some lost edges. All those edges, those miraculous edges, so very important. All right, now we have this water tower shape. Oh, I said the name of the thing. We had a difficult time divorcing ourselves from things and thinking about shape. It was a very difficult thing, but you know what? I was very proud with the end results. You did pretty good. All right, so here is my shape coming up and taking a bite out of that sky. And here I have this, and I'm going to just run that off the page. So what is that doing? It's connecting. And here's another shape on the end. We're going to kind of keep us in with that shape. And I want this to be a little bit lighter on this side, so I'm just adding water. I may add a little, while this is wet, I may add a little bit of dark. We're kind of backlit with this painting, so we have to, and here's another thing about painting in watercolor. Did you know, probably you didn't know, but you're in more control when it's wet than when it's dry. Did you realize that? Oh, a lot of head shaking. When you paint wet, you're in more control. When you paint a stroke on dry paper, it sits there, doesn't it? But when you paint a stroke on wet paper, you can change it. You can do things. It's like magic. And look at this, look at this, look at this tower shape here. I'm doing things here. All right? All right, let's continue, Ingrid. Stop talking. Go. Go to go. All right, let's get down here. How am I doing for time, Fran?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Oh, stop talking. All right, let's get some shapes down. All right, I'm going to connect down. We talked about that we have to connect. When we're doing our painting, right away we are connecting. I did connect with the first wash, but now when I'm taking my darks down, I have to think about that. I have to think about that too. I've got some hard edges here I've got to think about. We're going to take this down, all the way down. Not worried about things. I'm worried about my color. I'm worried about my value. I'm worrying about these shapes. We're going to punch in the blue a little bit more because I want the mystery of those windows coming through. And then we're going to have the reflection down in the water. I hear pencils writing away. Okay, all right. And understanding the timing in watercolor is another thing that's very, very important. If you don't think about the timing, you're going to get things running away from you. So I have to worry about this right now. Now I'm carrying this right down, right down, right down. When you put a boat in the water, you don't put the boat and then not think about the shadow in the water. You connect, you connect, you connect, you connect. And this is water. This is water. I'm going around this dry thing right here, this dry space, because I'm going to come back in here. But now I want to connect my darks down near that bottom, because I want the feeling that this is next to the river, because that tannery was right on the river. I don't want to think what they dumped into the river. Ooh, don't want to think about that. Which reminds me, when I lived in Guatemala, there was a huge boa constrictor that the gardener killed that was in our garden. Huge. I would say this big around. So, and I'm nature. I grew up on the farm, and I thought, well, what a wonderful thing to bring back the skin of this boa. And I went to Guatemala City, that's before the earthquake, with my boa constrictor skin all put in salt because I didn't want it to stink when I got there. And I found a tannery. This is how I thought in my youth. And I found the tannery, and I asked the people at the tannery if they could tan my big boa skin. And whether it was me because I put salt on it or whether the chemicals that they used to tan the skin were too strong, I got the skin back and it had holes in it. Yeah, I mean holes. It was just like somebody took a shotgun and shot it. But when I brought it back to this country, I kept that rolled up, and then when I was teaching first grade, I taught a bilingual first grade, and I had a gifted Spanish class, and we had store. And I brought things, my artifacts back from Guatemala and Costa Rica, and they had this snake skin. All the kids were fascinated by that snake skin. And eventually I gave it away to one of my students who had children who were fascinated by snake skins also. So, yeah, all of the things that we do. Now, why am I doing this? I'm doing this to give the illusion of water. I already have dark going on down here. This was all water. And I have to come back in here and I'll get more dark. So let's get back to our paste. Fran, how am I doing?
9.5 minutes.
Oh! This is pressure. This is pressure. And after my 9.5 minutes, what's my time?
Oh, an hour or something?
We'll break for about 15 and then there'll be 45.
Oh, then I can finish. Oh, it's good. Okay, I'm just trying to get in my head how to do this. Now, you see I did this, the paper was kind of dry. I like those rough shapes. I'm going to use them. Now, I guarantee you in my photo, I didn't even see that. But this is, remember, this is my painting. Magic in that building. Boy, magic. Lights going on in here. We can make some lights. Negative painting. I have to watch my proportions. And come back in here with more dark and my bristle brush that I love. I think if somebody took that bristle brush away from me, I would be very disappointed. I'd find another one, but it wouldn't have the character. The character. Now, I'm doing all this now to connect. Why? Because I know when it's dry, and I'm trying to get to the point where I can dry it and then we can have our break. Where I can dry it and then come back when it is drier to do all the other things that I want to do. So that's what I'm doing right now. Connecting as much as I can and getting to complete. It is so quiet in here. I was telling Carol and Vicki how people ask me, how were your nights? I said, too quiet. Coming from the city, I live right by Lakeshore Drive, and I always hear sirens at night. I hear things happening, and the birds serenaded me to sleep at night. I mean, it was so quiet. It was hard for me to get used to that quiet, but I think I could get into my blood. I think I would like it because I had the best sleep last night. I really did. It was fabulous. And we can invent. When we're doing our paintings, you see, I hardly am looking at this. Now I'm in the point where I am doing Ingrid things. And we don't want that to be divided in the middle. So now we're thinking as we go. We're thinking as we go. Aren't we lucky to be artists? Oh, and I have not missed the news. I don't even know what's going on in the world. Good. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I do not want to know.
Ingrid?
Yes.
Is that the tannery that was off of Elston and Webster?
Yeah, Webster.
Right, so the theater was the Webster Place Theater.
The Webster Theater, which is now the Regal.
Oh, okay, well, back in the 90s, I was still living in the city and used to go there. Before the Webster Place Theater was built, there was no train depot there.
Oh.
The railroad used to go through, and I took pictures of that.
Oh, did you? I didn't know there was a train depot
A
there.
small one, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, that whole thing has changed.
That neighborhood was still affordable.
Yeah.
The tannery next to it was an antique store, which was great. It was a great.
Really?
Area, yeah.
Well, that was way before I even knew about the tannery. This all happened when I was, well, I had graduated from art school. Yeah.
Well, the theater was there for quite a while. The theater, that was built in the early mid-90s.
Ah, yeah, right. Well, I had already then I moved to the city. That's how I knew it as the theater. Yeah, but that's the area. Yeah, very good. Yeah. All right, I'm connecting. I'm connecting. This is what I'm telling you to do. Connect. All right. How am I doing, Fran?
Oh, you have 5 minutes?
Ah! Okay, 5 minutes. All right, let's come and let's connect this more. Ooh, I like those streaky shapes. Now I'm getting to the point where we need to, let's do one more thing and I'm going to let it dry. It's a good thing that we're taking a break, isn't it? See, these are things that you have to kind of pace yourself when you are in your studio working. Sometimes you need to have somebody set the alarm clock for you. Stop! Stop! Don't do too much. We don't want too many striated marks. We're going to go soften. See, remember when I said you're in more control when you are wet? You see? Look at what I'm doing with those edges. I think I'm just about okay. Oh, let's do just one more thing and then we'll take a break. 3 minutes, Fran?
Yeah, exactly. Well, 3 minutes, 51 seconds.
I like challenges. I love challenges. I think if life is too mediocre, you get bored. So push it. Push it. And, oh, somebody's falling asleep. Oh, I better stop. All right. I think I did it. All right, done. No. In my time limit. Okay, very good. Let's take a break. All right. What happens with U-Po? Is it going to soak in? No. It's plastic. It dries by evaporation. I won't share the story I was going to say. Anyway, so it dries by evaporation. It's very tricky to paint on. Some of you were commenting to me during break. You have to let it dry thoroughly, bone dry. And when you go to add another area on top of the area on U-Po, you have to do a precise one stroke. You can't go in and say, oh, I made a mistake, I'm going to go do, no. And you know what I have found working on U-Po helps me work on paper? Because it forces me to be immediate. So those are things that are very important to take into consideration. So those are the two things that I was going to mention before I start again. Oh, I didn't do this during break. I'm sorry. I was missing dry. I thought it would dry, but it's raining today.
When you paint on your paper, does the buckling bother you at all?
You didn't show everybody your little paint stick trick.
All right, that's good enough. You know, and somebody, I'm surprised somebody hasn't asked me, this keeps thinking my fault. Surprised somebody hasn't asked me, Ingrid, when you dip your brush in, you're contaminating the other colors in these cups. And I always say, well, when you eat, do you have your potatoes here, your greens here, and your protein here? No, it doesn't bother me. There are too many things to think about when you're an artist, otherwise than to let that bother you. Okay, all right, here we go. I have started out and I have put my background colors on to be the background for the darks that are gonna come on top. So as I'm looking at this, because I was busy, there we go. We don't want all those things down in the water. I try to look when I come back in my studio when I paint, I try to look at things that bother me. When I take a break, the things that bother me, then I tackle first. And I'm thinking I want that to look like water. Okay, good. Now, all right, some things that you can do. I like to use stamps in my work. Some things that you can do when you do stamps. Now, sometimes you can take grocery bag pieces and fold them and put paste paint on these and paint on here and then stamp. Bubble wrap is good because what are we doing? We're entertaining the viewer in all the different areas of our painting. We can use credit cards to say, well, let's do the credit card. I'm going to take, I get all these little advertising things. I'm going to take this and I'm going to take paste paint and let's do our cobalt teal. And we're going to go cobalt teal, paste paint onto the credit card. When you do things like this, they make unpredictable shapes. I like unpredictable things. That's why I like U-bolt. Unpredictable shapes. And because I have a lot of blue over here, I'm going to put that over here. Oh, and that's kind of a blob, but don't worry, it's wet paint. So what do we do with wet paint? We take a brush and we do things like this. Now look at those nice rough edges. Ooh, that could be something going on in that tannery. I don't know. After hours in the tannery. Another thing that's interesting is sometimes when we paint with a credit card, I invented a lot of shapes with this. Believe me, these shapes were not there. Rather than taking my brush and dipping in the water, I use the spray bottle. And I'm charging the credit card. And these people, they have different floors in the tannery. I've never been inside this tannery, but this is my tannery. And there are different floors in that tannery. And let's just say there's a fire. We had a fire alarm during the workshop. Oh my God, I thought I set it off. It was unbelievable. It was, because I was so untechy, David, you would have not been very proud of me. It was absolutely. So here I'm coming with my credit card. Why do I like using things like this in the credit card? Because it doesn't make a perfect line. And remember what I talked about being entertained? So, fire escapes. I live in the city. All right, so let's have one wider. And then we kind of go down, 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 down. And then we have an angle. Ooh. That was just too big, too thick. But we take Kleenex, which I always have with me. And I don't like that little dangling modifier here, so we're gonna go and put this right here. There we go. And notice where I put this. I put this next to a light area in my painting. So when I went ahead and I planned this, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be jewelry next to all those shapes in the tannery. Jewelry. Jewelry is the calligraphy of painting. Now you can come in with this credit card and you can put in more darks. You see why painting with a brush gets to be boring? Now, we can have steps down to the river. Let's do steps down to the river. So I'm gonna go, whoop, whoop. Steps down to the river. And let's have a railing. Let's have a railing. Well, people, late at night, in that tannery, they're going down to the river. Oh, I don't know. But here, see? And what does this do? These are things that entertain the viewer. Now, do you understand why I don't like to draw on my painting? Now you're getting it. Okay. Because there's no way that drawing on the painting is going to be what my mind is when I pick up the brush to paint. I'm a different person every time I pick up the brush. When I picked up the brush and I started this painting, I'm different than I am now. I was different than I am now. This is something that you have to keep in your mind. Every time you are going to a painting, that's why Chen Qi, how many people know Chen Qi? Wonderful man. I don't hear too much about him anymore. I hope he's okay. One thing I took away from him was he said, the first 10 minutes that you go to paint is when you get that energy in your painting. And that is why when you get that energy in your painting, those are important things to connect and unify the painting all the way to the end. First 10 minutes. So when you're doing, that's why I like to always kind of do a wash to connect everything. All right, design. I'm looking at this right now and I'm going to tell you some things I don't like. First of all, I've got this area here. I need to quiet. I've got da-dum, da-dum. I've got warm, I've got cool. So what do I need to do? I need to get some warm over there. Let's not, we have a dominance of warm over here, but let's just, for interest, let's get a little bit of warm on that side. And we can, you know where we're going to put it? We're going to put it right here in this little area of this window. Right here. Right next to that blue. That is causing me to look there. I don't like the right angle. It's causing me to look there, and I'm just going to, you know, I don't want so many whites because this is night. I'm going to keep the value on the low-key side of value because it's night. But before I go and I make things dark, I have to get this stuff in. Fran, what am I doing for time?
32 minutes.
Oh, God. That's good.
You can do it.
That's good. And you know what? We do it because it's big shapes. Big shapes. Now we start to make mystery of the old tannery at night. Now we put that in. Mystery. I don't really care that much about this up here. This is back in the upper corner of the painting. My more focus area is down there. And here's another thing. I have two different colors going on in here. This isn't cooking class. Cooking class is when you stir and stir and stir and stir ad nauseum. And what does that do to your painting? Automatically, it makes the painting boring. So what you want to do is you want to have different colors peek through in your washes. I'm tidying up here. This is the fun part. Little peaks of light coming through. We don't know what's going on, but we're making it interesting. Now I have to be very careful. I don't want to make it too busy. I want to have this reflection down here, but let's narrow the shape. I don't like this. This is too bright. Ah, magic. The magic eraser. Sometimes those, you can do too much with a magic eraser, but sometimes it's very, very good. So I'm going to just kind of soften this a little bit. It's a little bit too intense for, oh, that's better. A little bit too intense for me. All right, let's go back. This is the connecting part. This is, you got all the hard work done. This is where you come in and connect all the shapes together and you make it work for you. Kind of what I'm thinking. Ooh, let's make this darker. I like mood. Yes, I used to paint pretty flowers. I know. Sorry, Carol. Carol, she said, Ingrid, you made those pretty flowers. Oh, I like that. But I'm going to do something with that. Don't let me forget that. Okay, let's go here. All right.
Can you move your painting to the right a little bit?
My painting or paint?
Your painting.
My painting.
Just to the right a little bit.
There.
There you go.
As long as you don't have me hold it up here. I learned that in 3 days. I had to go like this. I am a fast learner. All right, here we go. We want to force the attention. See what these darks do? We want to force the attention where you want people to look. Shapiro, I did, I think, more than 2, more than 1, but that's okay. Now, I'm not happy with this up here. This is too boring. So I'm going to come here, and this is going to be an incident that I am going to put Alvaro's brush. Alvaro Castanet. I had him do a workshop for me. Oh, what an experience. Oh, we had fun. Okay. When you do things like this, you can't have too much coffee. We'll see if it works. But you have to start out with a charged brush. I'm just going to say this. Who can tell me when your brush is charged?
Well, you can't pick any more paint up.
You can't pick any more paint up. 90% of the problems that watercolorists make, they don't start out with the gas in the tank. And then they wonder why they can't go far in their painting. You have to have a brush that is charged. Charged means that I'm starting out here. I can't get any more paint on that brush. I'm pointing it, and I'm going to, without thinking, Ingrid, we're going to go like this. Ah, it's hidden behind the shape. Good. All right, let's do another one here. Let's go. There are all kinds of wires. This is a tannery. They have things going on in there. Wires. All right. What else are we going to have here? Makeup things. Makeup things.
How about some smoke?
Thank you. All right, I don't like this is too light up here, so I'm going to come back. And there's steam coming from the smokestack, but the smokestack is behind the tannery, so we don't really know where that steam is coming from. That allows the mystery. So I'm going to come here. Make this darker. There we go. See how that forces the light down here? Okay, we want smoke, steam. They're probably, I don't know what they do in a tannery. They steam skins after they put the chemicals on. So, now normally I don't use this, but you know, at a demonstration, what you do, you're talking instead of painting. And that's why demos are different painting than studio paintings. A different ball of wax. I'm not talking to myself in the studio. I probably should be, but the point is that you have. Oh, let's do this. Let's have the steam mysteriously coming from here. We don't know what that is. We're backlit. Now let's have the steam coming out of here. I don't want to go up here and make that too dark, but I do want to do one thing. I want to make that a little more color up there to get you to look up there. So here we go with my pyro orange. And we're just going to put a little color in that. Ah, where did that orange come from? See, we're creating mystery. What's that? Why is that silo orange? You're telling your own story. All right, one other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a person here. Well, remember, I saw this tannery at night, and people were working at night, so I'm going to put a person in there, and then I have to, see, this is where I miss mirrors. I have to really back up. I don't like this. We'll keep a little bit. I don't like this. Keep a little bit. Here's our person. How do we make a person? Round brush. He's a silhouette, though. I'm not going to be so bold with color. And maybe he's carrying skins from the dock into the side. This is, you have to do this. You can't just go copy things. You've got to be in the painting telling your story. You've got to. All right, here's my person. It's bending over. And you know, the people in the tannery wear leather aprons. I do know that. So he's working. His arms are down here. He's working. He's kind of got an apron on. But he is taking a bite out of that shape to create interest in that spot. And maybe he's got a pile of skins here. A pile of skins. There we go. Here! He's working after hours. I hope he gets good pay. All right. We don't have to know what kind of shoes he's wearing. All right, now I'm looking, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Let's try this. How much time, Fran?
23 minutes.
Oh, I'm going to finish ahead of time. Okay. All right, let's do, here's another stamping. And this is, we're going to do a little bit, I don't even know if this would exist in a tannery. But I like that. It's an entertaining shape. And we're going to soften this. Remember, this is my tannery. And it might be some kind of a wheel or something that you have to move things up on. And
Oh, a fan. Interesting.
ah, it's a cooling fan. Oh, that was a hot summer night. Yep, that was a hot summer night. But isn't that an interesting shape in there? See, this is what you have to think about when you're working, and you're making all of this work for you. This is your painting. This is not something that you copy from a photograph. This is your painting. This is your realism. I'm going to make this a little heavier to anchor those shapes a little bit. Let's make this person a little more dominant. He's working very hard. I like the steps. Let's connect the steps a little bit more. Railing down to the steps. See, these are the things that you do when you're finishing up. Not too much. And I'm going to stress that because this is when we have to say somebody stop. All right, we need to have some kind of a grate. You know what? I heard that the vandals come and the vandals break into buildings. So we're going to put some kind of a screen over this doorway here so they can't get in.
Did you buy your stamps for some reason, or did you make them yourself?
No, I bought these. These are, have you heard of Jim Holtz?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful stamps, wonderful stamps. So there is the screen blocking, but let's not just have that the only place for the screen. Let's, you know, those vandals, they get up on the roof and they do graffiti and all kinds of things. So let's just kind of keep them out of our tannery. Oh my God, did I bring it with me? All that construction stuff? All right. There we, all right. Fran, time.
20 minutes.
Do it again.
No. Oh, no. You're paying me for one. Oh, no. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to alter this shape. I'm going to alter this shape just a little bit, and then we're going to open it up to questions. How's that? Is that okay? All right, let's do this. I grew up on a farm, and I remember at night, lights from inside the barn, and they would come through the cracks in the wood, and I was fascinated by that interesting look of the light from against the dark coming through. Maybe that's why I like to do things like this, because it made an impression on me. Okay, one of the things I always like to have my students think about when they are looking at their work is sense of dominance. Sense of dominance. Dominance can be with line, shape, size, value, color, direction, texture. Dominance. Concerning ourselves with the sense of dominance with temperature, what is my dominance? Warm or cool?
Balance.
Oh, then I have not done my job.
It's balance.
You guys are all, that was not a very quick answer. That was not a quick answer. So you know what? Let's push it. You told me, and I do this. And this is very important to ask that question. All right. What's the dominance?
Warm.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Any questions? Any questions? I'm ready. I have time. How much time?
17 minutes?
17 minutes for questions. Yes.
Do you, it looks like you stick with a pretty limited palette.
That's a very good question. I am not a colorist. And some of you people came up are colorists. And I had Pat in my workshop was a colorist. We have to go on our journey to be an artist. We have to find what works best for us. My florals, the florals that I used to do were brightly colored and light and vibrant but I always found a little place to put some grays in there to make that bright really pop. But as I have gone through my journey of 43 years being an artist, my second career, I find that I get more accomplished with a limited palette. And I have chosen probably shape, size, and value and texture as my dominant tools of creating. Does that help? But everybody is on, you're on your own journey.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to find what are these tools work for you to express your voice. See, and it's not my voice that you want. You do your own. Your voice is probably far better than mine. But we have to find the tools that are good for us. And that's my answer to you. Anybody else?
Can
Where
you
did
share
you get
with
the
them your little tape trick?
Oh, my tape trick. Tape trick. All right, Ingrid's tips and tricks in watercolor. I teach Bill was one of my students up at the North Shore, and a guy in our class says, "Do you think Ingrid could do a class on Ingrid's tips and tricks?" And I thought of that. I said, tips and tricks. And I thought, well, you know what? There are quite a few that we use. This tape is wonderful tape. Don't ask me. I buy it from my framer. But anyway, here, if you're interested in this, there's the name is in the inside. What I do is I take a piece of tape. I start, and it's kind of like, I guess, like you roll a cigarette. I've never rolled a cigarette in my life. But you take this and you start at an end at an angle, and you get the whole thing sticky. And then you put that on the back of your paper and you put it on a board. Now the reason I do that is because sometimes I float on a dark background or a light background or something, and I want to paint all the way to the edge. So that is why I do this. I don't like to put the border around. Irv Shapiro told us that in art school, but it took me a long time to do, all right, do this, Ingrid, do this, because it works for you. That was a good question, but that's why I do that, okay? Anybody else? Another question? Are you ready to, question.
Can you just revisit what you did before the painting on that little sketchbook?
Ah,
You
very
said it
good.
quickly and we heard it, but yeah, could you just read?
All right, so here is my reference, bad reference. And because I experienced that smell on the hot summer night, I saw the building on the hot summer night, and I never painted this until years and years and years later. And I will share with you, I don't brag very much about my things, but I will share with you that I did this for American Watercolor Society, and the painting won an award. I shipped it and it won a nice award. That was a few years back. So, going back to I just saw something. Going back to what you want to interpret as a painting is that right?
That's fine.
Okay.
You just do your thing.
Oh, okay. Thank you, David. All right. So I work out my plan here. I paint. I never got the connection of doing a pencil drawing value. I never got it. I struggle with that. And here, I'm going to share a secret with you. You know what I would do when I would taught my classes? I would do the painting demo first by me in my studio, and then I would do the value sketch. Now that's kind of silly. But I finally got it. Ingrid, you're a painter, you're not a drawer. And so for me, this works so much better. And I work out my values. So
What's the significance of that? Because that's just a dark and a light, right? Or a dark and a medium.
And what is the significance of this?
No. Are you saying the proportion of dark to medium value on that on your values on your little value thing?
Yeah.
'Cause I see two values there, and one of them's bigger and the other one's smaller. Is that what you're
Isn't
saying?
the bigger value dark?
Yeah. But that's what that bar is. Is that right? Is that
Yes, that's my
okay.
graph. That's my value graph. Right.
Right.
Right. So in my mind, I'm saying to myself, does this help, Judy? In my mind, I'm saying, okay, I'm working out my value patterns, and here's my graph, and this is what I should be watching, and it may change. It can change. I haven't drawn any lines on here, so it can change. So I'm not beholding to what lines that I'm putting on here, okay? Anybody else? Yes,
You do one of the value studies for every painting usually,
yes.
and what makes a scene particularly inspiring to you?
My experience with it.
Okay.
I'm not one to paint from something that I haven't experienced.
What's your experience with that teddy bear?
That's my teddy bear. That is my teddy bear, and for a lot of my students who had babies, I would do a baby card and put a banner, like a big banner, and I put the kid's name, and I paint the teddy bear.
Sweet.
But that is my teddy bear. Anybody else? I guess we're finished. All right, done. All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll see everyone on September 12th.